Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another week of the Wealth Cafe. And I am so excited. We are having one of our coffee conversations today, and I am joined by the fabulous Emily Raleigh, who is the founder of the Dune Market, which is a beautiful shop located in Beach Haven on Long Beach Island in New Jersey. I have to say, I have followed your story from, I think I saw it on TikTok. If you want to
Oh my
laugh, when you were first opening your doors. So I am so excited, and it has been truly an honor to see how the shop has grown. And we're going to talk more about that today. But Emily, I would love for you to introduce and share a little bit more about yourself.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. And thank you so much for following along with the journey of the shop since we started this. It's like so nice of you. But my name is Emily. I own the Dune Market in Beach Haven, in New Jersey on Long Beach Island. I opened in April of 2022, so it's been about 2.5 years now. Very grateful to be doing it. And we started as a brick and mortar shop in Beach Haven. We're a cozy little shop in Beach Haven. And we now have an online business, so we're full e-commerce as well, and we have a wedding registry business. So it's been a lot of fun the last couple of years building the business out. Basically, the Dune Market, in a nutshell, is three shops in one that are all centered on coastal living. We have a home decor section, an apothecary, and a bookshop. And collectively, our goal is to have a space and have a brand that is reflective of coastal living, specific to our beautiful area of the coast. So we really try and center it around the simplicity and the simplistic magic of living here by the beach on LBI, as well as making sure that we're really sourcing thoughtfully and ethically from vendors and artisans from all over the world. So very much like some of our vendors are here on LBI and some of them are on the other side of the world. So it's been a really just such a joy building the business. And yeah, can't believe we're 2.5 years in now.
It's also very cool because you talk about having these like three different parts of the business. So every time I'm down in LBI, I grew up going to LBI, which is probably how social media, the algorithm works in crazy ways. And it knew it was like, you need to know about Dune Market. You're going to want to A, buy everything, and B, it's LBI. So what a way to support. But I think what's so cool is you go into the shop, and even though you talk about like having these three different parts, as you move through it, it feels so cohesive, and you just feel like you're walking into someone's home, and you're like, I can buy the stuff in this person's home, basically, which I
Thank
love.
you.
So how did you get the idea to bring these, the apothecary, the bookstore, and then also all the curated home pieces? How did you think to bring that all together?
Well, thank you. That's so nice of you. I think so. Basically, the impetus of the business was I had been thinking about this coastal living brand and the space within the coastal living space that I thought there was an opportunity to
Mhm.
build something in for probably about 8 years before I like actually started the business. I had previously worked in branding, so I think in my mind, no matter what, I'm always thinking through like what are the spaces in the market.
Mhm.
And this was one I thought quite a bit about, but never thought it would be like a brick and mortar store because I lived in the city, never thought I'd be able to live back on LBI, and the pandemic changed that quite a bit. I think for everybody, like that,
Yeah.
where you could live became a little bit more there. It felt like there was a few more options than there was maybe before. Um, so for me, like when I was thinking through what coastal living in a sense is, especially with what it looks like on LBI and what it looks like in the Mid-Atlantic region, um, I think about it from like the time you wake up to the time you go to bed and what your
Mm.
day kind of looks like. And I think for me, I think about what does your home look like? What's in your outdoor shower? What's in your beach bag? What are you reading on the boat? Like anything like that. Like, and
Yeah.
so I think about it from that kind of lens of walking through your day. And we try and make sure that we're peppering in as much of what that looks like as possible and figuring out ways that our products reflect that, elevate it, enhance it, all of that. And so when I'm thinking through the three distinct shops, I had always loved concept stores.
Mhm.
The overarching idea was let's build something that is reflective of the style of living we have here, but at the same time, segment it off into different kind of shops. And that's why it's also called a market.
Yeah.
So for me, I thought I thought through those individual spaces, and our original location was actually going to have coffee as well. Like we were going to have all these different things, which the first location didn't work out, which is truly the biggest blessing. I would have never landed a beach haven if it wasn't for that. Um, but because of that, I think I was thinking through from the jump, okay, if we're going to have like a coffee bar, we have to have these different sections because
Yeah.
they can't all be like just combined into one. And I had always loved concept stores. There was one in New York City that like I went to, I think like multiple times a week in college because I loved going there so much. And it closed during the pandemic and it was very
No.
upsetting. Yes. But like there was one in the city, there's one by that my sister lived in Tampa, that was one down there that I loved. And so I think for me, I'd been thinking through what do these different places look like that are experiences that are reflecting
Mhm.
a very particular brand, but that's translated across different spaces within
Yeah.
retail. So yeah, that's kind of how it all came to be. Was there was a couple of different pieces of inspiration in there, but um, and it was also just like a circumstance thing. But once I was no longer doing coffee, I was like, I still like this idea, and I still wanted it to feel like a market space. So yeah, that's kind of how it all came to be.
Which I love that there's a couple things too I'd love to dive into from what you just shared. And number one, I love hearing these stories of the pandemic was horrible in so many different ways,
Mhm.
but when we are able to pull out these moments of like it brought you back to LBI and like things that like might not have ever happened if it weren't for this, like to have those bright moments of look at how this all came together, I think is just it's really cool to be able to see and be like, okay, look, there was some positives that despite all the darkness we had, like to have some light and positivity come out of that is fantastic. And I'd also love to dive in. So brick and mortar, totally. So now you have brick and mortar and you also have expanded to online, all
Mhm.
within 2.5 years,
Yeah,
which is
it's
amazing.
thank you. It was, and we launched brick and mortar or I'm sorry, we launched online originally, I think in October of 2022. So it was
Okay.
within like a very short span of time, and it's it's such its own beast. Like it's and
Mm-hmm.
when I think about how I allocate my time, it really they are three distinct businesses between that brick and mortar and then our wedding registry business. So it's definitely, I think there's ways to do it where they kind of all just flow together, but I think to do each well, they kind of have to like stand on their own 2 feet.
Mm.
But make sure that they all flow together and they all complement each other. But like it's definitely, I don't think when I got into it, I realized that they are two different businesses. And every time I talk to a small business owner who does both, they're like, yeah, it is two entirely separate entities.
Yeah, so I feel the same way too. Like in my business, I'm like, it feels like one umbrella for tax purposes, but then it's
Yeah.
like you have all these different areas, and it's when you break all of that down, you're like, oh my gosh, this is multiple different areas. And so,
Yeah.
what do you think was the biggest challenge when you shifted from, I mean, brick and mortar is its own beast, right? Especially in the post-pandemic world, and you're on a place that has a lot of seasonality. So, what
Mhm.
do you think was then kind of the biggest challenge shifting from brick and mortar to then going into the online world?
I think honestly, it's customer acquisition. So I like from my experience, I think customer acquisition is a lot easier in a brick and mortar than it is online. Um,
Interesting. Okay.
and I think it's so interesting. And I was talking to a friend about this. And she said she's like, I think it's like dating. She's like, it's a lot harder to like date on the apps than it is if you're to be in person
Mm,
and like meet somebody at a bar. Because even though it's harder to get that like to go to the right bar to meet the right person,
hmm
like once you're in the bar, like there's and you know that there's going to be people there, like there's a little bit more opportunity than like when
mm,
you're online, there's just this plethora of options. So, you know, standing out in a certain sense is harder. I think it's the same it's the same with the business. Like, we're so fortunate to be in this great like business community here on LBI. Our community really uplifts the small businesses here.
mm,
And so we're so fortunate because people when they're coming to LBI, they want to come through our doors. They want to like they want to come through the doors of the businesses here. They want to like see what the different shops are, offering and things. And I think especially when you're on vacation, there's like an interest in shopping.
yeah.
Um, and I think that the small business world is such a part, it's a part of the ethos of LBI.
Mm,
Um, and we're so lucky for that because I think it inspires people
for
to want
sure.
to like be here, to want to like support the businesses and stuff. And
Oh, it's an
um,
activity to like like I make sure we always have a morning where we like get a coffee, walk around that whole area. Like I
totally.
don't leave the island whenever I go without stopping in your store and all
Oh,
of like that
thanks.
whole section around you. My
Thank you.
wallet is like, why do you do this? But
Thank
for
you.
me, that's one of my biggest things is if I can go in and support a small business and seeing like the impact it has, especially on that community, I would spend every last dollar.
That's so sweet. Well, I mean, on behalf of all of us, I appreciate that. And I think that's the thing is it really is, we're so lucky because I know that's not the case everywhere.
No.
I think this community in particular is just, it's, it's just, we're really, really fortunate in that sense. And I think the businesses really try to make sure that they're contributing something of value to the community,
Mhm.
in their own unique ways. But I think because it's, like it's just such a classic part of being here. I also think there's something to be said. We don't have chains here. Like
Yeah.
it's if you want to go to Target, it's like
Hmm.
25 minutes away from the island, and that's if there's no traffic. So like it's one of those things I think it's a lot if you're here on LBI and you want to book and you want to go up to the beach that day and read, you kind of have to go to one of the bookshops here because
Hmm.
otherwise you're going to be waiting 2 to 3 days from Amazon and that's at best. So like it's just a little bit of a different
True.
situation. But I think online is so much harder because you are just in such a big sea of other stores. And, of course, there's a lot of different ways to advertise and things like that. And you can reach a very different customer base. Um, but there's just a lot more calories that go into it. It's not just, I'm
Mm,
going to, like I think there's a lot you can do in person to make it a real experience and a place that people want to come to. There's a lot to do on social media. There's a lot to do with like email, which is again, you can do all of that with online, but um at the end of the day, I think it's you benefit from foot traffic where like there's foot traffic online is a little bit different.
hmm.
So it's just something we think about a lot. And that's why like anytime I talk to my friends about it, like here, like I said, what my one friend said, I was like, it's so funny because I think it is like when you're just the internet's just this plethora of options. It can be really hard to stand out. And I think and I think especially in the world of like with shipping and stuff, like it's just there's a
Yeah.
lot more barriers to somebody clicking like order now. And then also on the flip side of it, we want to make sure like it's a very wonderful experience if somebody's going to choose to shop with us online. Like we're not just throwing it in a box and sending it on its merry way. Like we're trying to make it a good experience and we're trying to make sure they know we appreciate it. But it's I definitely think the customer acquisition part is particularly different and perhaps a little bit more difficult online. But the upside is there's a lot of opportunity because
Hmm.
obviously
You have the whole
you're
world.
not right. You're not at the mercy of like how many people are coming over the bridge that day.
Yeah, which is such an interesting too, as a business owner, I'm always listening to stuff like this and I always think, okay, how many people tell you to niche down? So for you in the brick and mortar space, your niche is everybody who's on LBI, right? Which you can
Totally.
say everybody, but that is a really small, beautiful community. Whereas when you translate to online, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but sometimes when I'm doing social media or workshops online, it's like screaming into the void.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it certainly can be because um there's just so much content out there and
Yeah.
trying to find a way to like what is adding value and what is capturing somebody's attention. It's tricky. It's definitely tricky.
Which I think is really cool then that you then added this third piece, which is the wedding registry business, because as somebody who goes to probably more weddings than I care to admit, it's how many times am I going to order the same not that I don't love Crate and Barrel, Williams Sonoma, all of them, they're great. But how many times can I order the same wine glasses or whatever cups from Crate and Barrel over and over and over again? So I
Right.
think it's really cool because you go into your shop and you have such curated items, and in
Thank
a
you.
world where everything is mass produced, to then actually be able to have a wedding registry, that has, I feel like, unique items, and you'll actually remember like, oh, this beautiful plate like so and so gave us for our registry. So talk a little bit more about when did the registry start, and then also how has that build out been going?
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. And it's definitely it was one of those things. I think it came about like really from the jump. I even like part of the reason we wanted to move online was to do wedding registries.
Hmm.
Um, because when I got married the fall of 2021, so right before I opened the business.
Right before
And
you were,
I was oh yeah, it was that we got a house like 3 months later. I signed a lease a month after that, went right off to the races in that, and then like a year, almost like a little over a year into the business, I found out I was pregnant. So it was, and now I have a 9 month old. So it's definitely been
oh,
like a whirlwind of the last few couple of years. But all good things. So it's certainly not going to
yeah.
complain. But when I was getting married, I registered at some small business, like at some small businesses as well, because I think like there's something to be said about there's these valuable home staples you need, right? Like you need your
Mhm.
coffee maker, you need your toaster, all that sort of stuff that you might register for. But what I was finding is I'm like, okay, well, we've been living together for I think for 4 years at that yeah, like 4 years at that point. And even after college, like you kind of accumulate all these staples from the time that you leave your your like childhood home. Um, and over time you might like swap some of them out, but for the most part, you're accumulating all this stuff. And a lot of your baseline staples are covered,
Hmm.
right? Like you might have like you have certain things. And so what I was finding was when we were registering, I was like, I don't need another set of, X, Y, or Z, but I'd like a certain like more statement pieces for my kitchen. I have a better sense of my style now. I want those nicer pieces. Not necessarily nicer in the sense that like they are like a lot more expensive, but just like they're these more like styled staples, I
You're
guess.
not just trying to survive off of like, you're like, I have the
To
basics. I want the
totally,
next level, which is really like, because you want to be surveying and having parties and celebrating this new phase of life. So it makes sense.
totally. And I also feel like the older you get, the more like you want to be able to host a dinner party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
And then be
your
in bed by
your
nine.
girlfriends want to come over for at like 6 p.m. for like a little like a dinner party or like a wine
Yep.
and cheese night. It's less of like we're gonna go out at 10 p.m. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. It's a
Um,
shift.
yeah, totally. And so I wanted those kind of pieces in my house. And I also think there's something to be said about I wanted to register for pieces that I knew were going to have a meaningful impact in some kind of fashion. So for me, like a lot of the products that we sell in the store, they're fair trade. They have these wonderful missions behind them. They're made by artisans and they're really high quality goods. So, what I was finding, even with the stuff that I did register from big box stores, some of it because it's mass produced. It's produced now, in these like very particular methods. They don't last and
Mm,
they break, like we're always going to love our Le Creuset pieces, you know what I mean? Anybody like, or you're going to love your cast iron pots, like none like pans, like none of that stuff is like going anywhere, right? But like I think there's something to be said about like having really nice sturdy wine glasses that aren't going to break in your dishwasher. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Stuff like that. And I learned through registering on my own that that's what I was also feeling. But I also wanted to have these pieces in my house where I was like I know the story behind them. It's a story that like I really like I love to know that like purchasing this item or somebody gifting me this item, like it has this positive ripple effect. And I think that was something that was really important with how I buy for the store in general. But I think there's also value for that for registries. So that was the big thing was like for my own personal lived experience. But then also we were seeing that a lot of people were coming in buying shower gifts and buying wedding gifts at the
Hmm.
store. So it was just kind of one of those things. Like it was kind of further validation we should do this. And then we and so then we launched in May of 2023 our wedding registry business and yeah, it's been great and I love working with couples on it and like whether they're registering in the store, they're registering online, like we just have such a good time like talking with people, helping them with things and helping their family members like they'll with making sure they're picking the thing that they really want. So it's been a joy. I love that part of the business.
I also feel like it creates more of an experience, right? Like we live in this world of consumption where it's how much can you get? Like everyone's always trying to get as much as possible. And I think there's something to be said, especially during that time of your life when you want these like curated items,
Right.
and to know too that it has this impact effect, right? Like you're not, they're supporting you and you're able to support other businesses and knowing where it's coming from. I mean, I know how many people who have gotten their wedding registry gifts and like half of them are broken and then they have to, and then you're
Yeah.
just like continuing to feed in this, consumption cycle. And it's like, what if we slowed down, picked out really nice pieces, and then like these are things that they could pass on to the next generation
Yeah.
too.
And that's a big thing when I'm purchasing things from for the stores. I really think through like what constitutes a family heirloom and what does that mean? And also like what are these pieces going to last? And I think that's the beauty of artisan made goods. Like
Mhm.
these are not quickly made like things in like a in with a machine in a factory. Like these are like our all of our glasses, our etched glasses are all like they're it's on a wheel and that like somebody is like pushing the wheel with their foot while they're
Yeah.
etching these by hand. And I mean, they are some of the sturdiest glasses I've ever seen. And what I like too is I think it's also I'm not saying that they're the cheapest thing in the world because they're certainly not. But we try and be really conscientious of price in the store too because we want to like emphasize you can have these really beautiful, ethically sourced pieces in your home that aren't a mortgage payment either. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I think there's also this issue in the home space where it seems like if if you want something nice, you're going to have to pay an obscene
Mhm.
amount of money for it. And that's not approachable by any means. And so then it feels like if I don't pick it out from this big box or if I don't get the dupe on Amazon, it's just not an option. And I don't, and I'm like, I want to have something that kind of fits that, like it fills that need without it being this crazy, crazy price.
And I also think there's something to be said, and I always have this, as we talk about money and wealth and all of those things on here, it's a conversation that I have a lot with clients on the show, you name it, about, okay, am I paying a little more now for something longer term down the road, right? Like I have
Right.
gone through so many crate and barrel wine glasses, but
Yep.
if I sat here,
Same here.
yeah, you're
Hear
like, yes,
that.
there's one in the garbage right now. How did you know? But if I can spend, okay, if I spend a little more money now and I don't have to go through the time and the energy to replace them, and they're actually going to look nice on my shelves, like to
Yeah.
me, I'd rather spend more money now because I know how much it's going to save me and also who it's
Yeah.
supporting in the long term. But a
I
lot of
totally
us,
agree.
like, we don't take time to slow down and think about it, especially we're just like, go, 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 go. I need it fast. I need it shipped. I need it Amazon 2 hour delivery, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think it does. And people, when they are in that beach mindset, actually are able to slow down and think, oh yeah, this is like the better, route to go.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's also true when you're picking out things for your wedding because you're trying to think through thoughtfully, like,
Hmm.
what do I actually want in my home? It's no longer just I'm I'm looking at like a sample sale or I'm just buying things quickly because I just graduated and I'm moving into an apartment and I don't have so much as a plate to my name. Like it's you're now getting to pick the things that you want to last and you want them to be in your home. And I think there's a huge opportunity there to really be mindful about it because we also all don't a lot of us don't have the kind of space like our parents had when they were our
Hmm.
age, you know, like a lot of us are still living in apartments or we're living in small homes. And I live in a very tiny little cottage. This is not my home. I'm staying at my parents' house right now because we're renovating, but we live in a very tiny place. Like can't have I can't have sets of four different glasses where I have
Hmm.
12 years of each glass, you know? So I want to make sure I have like really good everyday glasses that also look really pretty on a table if it's Christmas, you know? So,
I love that. I love that. So just to wrap things up, what is next on the horizon? I know I hate to push people of like,
no,
you
I
have to
love
keep
talking about
going,
that.
but I have the feeling just based on our conversation that you have some things brewing. So what is next for you and Dune Market?
Yeah, so we're well right now it's like we're deep in holiday. So this week we like start to like really release all of our holiday stuff, which is really exciting. I love this time of year. It's so much fun. And we really try and just add like value to the gift giving time it is because it's one of those things like there's only so much time everybody has to shop during the holiday season, and you want to spend your holiday season doing other things other than just like racking your brain for what's a decent gift for somebody. So we try
Mhm.
and make that as easy as possible. So we're in the thick of holiday right now, so I'm really excited for it all to like kick off this week. We've been working on it since August, so I feel like
Oh
this
my
time
God.
of year is, oh yeah, it's so much fun. It's like I love the summer. Obviously, LBI is summertime in a lot of ways, but my like favorite time of year for the store is actually the holiday season. It's so much fun. And I just love like getting to help people pick out gifts that are going to be under a tree. But so that's like what we're doing right now. Um, but as we look towards 2025, we're really excited to be like expanding the business in a pretty big way. So we're going to be sharing more on that probably in January. But we're ironing all that out now. But big issue that we constantly have is we have an inventory and a space issue. So we're hoping that
Yeah.
in 2025 we'll be solving some of that.
Mhm.
So excited for that. We're also moving into we're doing a little bit more custom products that we've been working on. So very excited for that in a couple of different spaces. And we're going to be kind of also offering more custom offerings specific for our registry couples, which I'm really excited for because I really want that to be a more custom experience for them. So
Mhm.
I'm so thrilled we're going to be working on that. And then I think beyond that, we're just really working on seeing how do we continue to add value to our community here on LBI. I think in the new year, we really want to work on doing some more stuff in the book space in particular, because our book club has been such a fun element of the business. So we're looking to see how do we add more like book specific like fun things for next year. So looking towards the summertime on that. So yeah, it's crazy to think we're already like talking through like what's next for the summer, but
Isn't that crazy?
summer 2025 comes quick every year. So yeah, we're excited.
Right. It'll be like 2025 and all that. And be like, remember we were laughing about 2025? And
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
awesome. I'm so excited for you and selfishly for me to be able to go and experience all these
Oh,
things.
thank you.
And so the last question, I never warn anybody, but the last question I like to ask guests is what is one thing that you do every day to make you feel wealthy and empowered?
Oh my God, that's a really good question.
It gets everyone every time, don't worry.
I really think it's like I think it's kind of like what you said before, the value of slowing down. I think just it's funny because living in a vacation place, this is where everyone else comes to slow down, but because we
Yeah.
live year round and like this is our like everyday lives, it's really hard to slow down here. So I think the big thing that we do most days as a family is like we call our like happy hour walk, and like we either go up on the beach or we go down by the bay and we put our little guy in the stroller, and like I'll pour myself a glass of wine and we just like walk, and we sometimes, depending on the time of year, we'll sometimes get to catch the sunset, other times we don't, but um I think there's something really valuable about slowing down and like reminding yourself like of the like of what it's all for, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
what you're working towards, and also just like the that it's not like I think it's really easy to always be focusing on the destination, but like that opportunity every day to just like slow down, take a beat, be really present, and like be like right now is really like right now we're like is good. You know what I mean? And I think that's
Yeah.
like, especially as a business owner, I think it's important because you're always thinking 10 steps ahead of you because you have to be. So I
Hmm.
really love that there's this time every day where we get to kind of take a beat and just not be thinking 10 steps ahead, but just like looking at where we are right now.
I love that too. And that's why I always, I debate asking people, well, what's next? It's because I'm like, you want that balance of being able to enjoy right now and where you are. But you're
Yeah.
right. Like as a business owner, it's always like, okay, and then 2025 and then 2030 and then 2070, like we'll be doing
Mm.
this. And like you can get so into that, like the even being on LDI, like there's still the rat race and there's still
Yeah.
like constantly like feeling that need to hustle and keep going. So
Yeah.
I love that. And especially too, like enjoying that you live on that beautiful island, which I'm so jealous, that you have and realizing like how incredible it is to have that opportunity and to just slow down because before we know it, it'll be time flies by.
Totally. And I think there is so like I love getting to plan things out. I think that's part of being a business owner. Like you
Yeah,
just like inherently like you're always dreaming of what's next. But yeah, no, it really is. It's a balancing act on that front for sure. But very like I very much enjoyed like that piece of it as well. But enjoying like the I know it's like such a cliche, but enjoying the journey along the way is like not something that always comes easy to me, but it's something I like. I think it's a very I think LBI can in a lot of ways and just being by the beach can kind of inspire that, which is a gift of being here, that's for sure.
I completely agree. I think sometimes like some of the best like inspirations I've had have come from just like walking the beach and like slowing
Mhm.
down because if not, it can just keep going. So I love that. So if people want to support you Small Business Saturday, if they want to connect with you, where can they find you? Website, all the things.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We are online. We're just thedunemarket.com. And we're on social media is just at the Dune Market everywhere. And then if you happen to be on LBI, we are in Beach Haven. We're on Fifth Street in the Boulevard, in the old green building.
It is the cutest shop. You have to stop
Mhm.
in. And I just want to thank you so much for hopping on today. And I cannot wait to see you in person soon when I swing by the store.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Bye.